Magandang hapon po sa inyo lahat. Good afternoon everyone in English. Eh, andito na po ako para mangulit. Para tayo ay magkulitan. Nandito na po muli si Papa Angelo, your God and Man's Lost Life Counselor. Today, the 20th day of September 2020, live here in Makati City. Live talaga, no? Okay, kasi ito pinaka-radio station ni Papa Angelo. No? And today, I'd like to talk about the importance of fathers sa bawat bahay. The importance of fathers sa bawat pamilya. At kung tatagalogin ko, para sa mga kaibigan natin dyan na masa, gaano kahalaga ang papel mo bilang ama sa tahanan, sa bawat pamilya. At bakit ko ba ginagawa ito? Ba't mo ginagawa yung Papa Angelo? Pati ka na lang matulog, ha? Sarap matulog na itong oras. Hindi ako inaantok eh. Tsaka, nanlulumo kasi ako sa mga nangyayari sa ating bansa. Okay? Wait lang. Nanlulumo ako dahil pag tinignan nyo yung balita, although sanay na kayo, no? Sanay na tayo na makakita araw-araw ng pinapatay, ng mga teenager na nabubuntis, mga nagda-drugs, mga pagnanakaw, at mga kabaliwan ng kabataan. Sanay na tayo dyan, no? Araw-araw nasa news. At ano gagawin natin pag nakakapanood tayo ng ganyan? Wala, napapailing lang tayo. Napapaganon lang tayo. At ang feeling natin, ganito na yata talaga sa Pilipinas. Mukhang ganito na yata ang society natin. Mukhang ganito na talaga tayo mga Pilipino. Para bang tanggap na natin sa dibdib natin, sa puso natin, na ito talaga ang sitwasyon, no? Kapag meron kang bata na ginawa, no? May asawa ka, nambuntis ka, may batang lalabas. Pag nagkaisip yan, kung ano makikita niya sa TV na sitwasyon ng buhay natin, yun ang iisipin niyang normal. Yun ang iisipin niyang klase ng buhay meron tayo. At syempre, pag natutong mag-aral sa school yan, at lalo na pag nagbasa ng Biblia, makikita niya na hindi naman ito talaga ang buhay natin dapat. Pero, bakit ito ang buhay natin? Okay? Di ba? Kasi pag nabuksan na ang isip ng isang bata, nakarinig, nakabasa, nakakita ng mga bagay na iba sa kanyang napapanood at nakikita sa paligid niya, magsisimula mag-isip yan. Magbalanse. Okay? At matututong mag-isip at magbalanse yan kapag pinakakain mo ng masustansyang pagkain. Okay? Yung anak mo. Kasi pag hindi gagana ang utak niya, hindi tatakbo. Tingnan niyo yung mga nakatira sa kalye. Hindi naman nakakain ng masustansyang pagkain yung mga yan eh. Kaya, dahil na rin sa tatay, siguro, kung ano lang may provide niya, kung ano lang yung kaya ng pera niya, yun lang ang kakainan ng bata. Oo. Kaya yung bata, hindi na nag-iisip yan. Yung mga nakatira din sa kalye, pati yung mga nasa slum areas, pagka araw-araw ang pagkain niyan, itlog at noodles, Asahan mo. Hindi yan malalim mag-isip. Maswerte lang sila kapag pumasok sa eskwelahan. At may teacher na matino, may malasakit sa trabaho niya, at may advocacy na gumanda ang Pilipinas. Kung lahat ng teacher ganun mag-isip, ang sarap ipagkatiwala ang mga anak natin sa kanila, no? Pero kung ang teacher na nasa mga eskwelahan na yan, walang ibang ginawa kundi bantayan ng gobyerno kung kailan patataasin ang sahod nila, walang ibang ginawa kundi bantayan ng gobyerno sa lahat ng kilos at sinisita, hindi nagpo-focus yan sa kanyang trabaho bilang teacher. Okay? Isang araw, magugulat ka na lang, yung mga anak mo kasali na sa mga rally, kasali na ng aktivista. Okay? Kaya sana ang mga eskwelahan natin ay pumipili ng tamang teacher. Okay? Sana ang mga eskwelahan natin, mapa-private o mapa-public, ay may kasamang dasal sa pagpili ng mga guro na magtuturo sa mga bata. Okay? Now, dahil ang topic natin, how to be a better father. Last week, how to be a better husband. The other week, how to be a better wife. Iisa-isayin natin yan kasi magkakaibang trabaho o magkakaibang posisyon, magkakaibang trabaho. So, kung pinili mo makisama sa isang tao at bumuo ka ng pamilya, dalawang sombrero ang suot mo. Sombrero ng pagiging tatay, sombrero ng pagiging husband. Magkaiba yan. At iba rin ang sombrero mo kapag may pinapasukan kang trabaho. Magkakaibang duties yan. Pag yan pinaghalo-halo mo, pinagsama-sama mo, sakit sa ulo yan. Talagang hindi ka makapag-focus sa isa. Okay? At lahat ng yan, pinag-aaralan. Bawat posisyon na pinapasok mo. Okay? Hindi ka naman basta-basta papasok sa isang trabaho na hindi mo kinikilala ang iyong magiging trabaho. Mumukha kang tanga dun. Hindi mo inaaral yung gagawin mo. May mga kumpanyang hindi ka tuturuan. At bahala kang mag-isip kung paano mo gagawin ang trabaho mo. At kapag naghintay ka lang, tumunganga ka, bukas hindi ka na papasukin. Okay? Ganun yun. Kaya kapag pumasok ka sa posisyon na pagiging ama, pinag-aaralan din po yan. Ha? Hindi yan basta kung ano lang marinig mo sa kanto, kung ano yung pinag-uusapan doon ng mga nagiinuman, yun na yun. No? Susundin mo. Hindi po yun ganon. Okay? Gaano kahalaga ang posisyong tatay sa bahay, sa pamilya? Meron akong babasahin sa inyong isang kwento na napublish mula sa Time Magazine. Okay? Total, mahilig din naman tayong sumunod sa nangyayari sa Amerika. Mahilig din naman tayong manggaya kahit simula noon pa, no? Ginagaya natin yung mga kultura nila. Kaya kung gaano kalaki ang problema nila dun sa Amerika sa pagkawala ng mga fathers sa kanilang mga tahanan, eto daw yung mga epekto ayon sa kanilang pag-aaral. Yung mga epekto na to, ito yung mga na-establish na katotohanan na napansin nila. Sa lahat ng mga criminals na nahuhuli nila, pag in-interview mo yan isa-isa, bakit mo nagawa ito? Iho. Iha. Wala po akong tatay. Iniwanan po kami nung maliit pa ako. Okay? Siyempre, alam niyo na ang magiging epekto. Ang nanay magtatrabaho din ng gusto. Pareho nang wala sa bahay. May iwan ng bata. Yan ang ating eksena lagi dito sa Pilipinas. At dumami na yan. Milyon na sila. Alam nyo bang bihira na lang ang nagpapakasal ngayon? Ang nagpapakasal na lang ngayon yung mga may pera. Okay? Yung mga ordinaryong tao, hindi na yan nagpapakasal. Tingnan nyo yung website sa PSA. Mapapansin nyo yung trending, pababa na ng pababa. Yung bilang ng mga gusto magpakasal. Magmula 2010. Okay? Bakit? Hindi rin nila makita yung importance ng pagpapakasal dito sa Pilipinas. At pangalawa, masyadong malaki ang bilang ng mga naghihiwalay, ng mga nasisirang pamilya, ng mga nagpa-file ng annulment. Pag nag-file ng annulment, may pera yun. Okay? Hindi yung kabilang doon sa mga mahihirap. May pambayad sa annulment. Okay? Now, kapag hindi mo inalam ang trabaho mo bilang ama, bilang father, ito daw mga consequences. So, unahin ko muna yung consequences bago yung mga trabaho. Ha? Mas masarap pag-usapan muna yung consequences eh. From fathers.com, the consequences of fatherlessness. Okay? Ito ay walang kaibahan sa consequences din dito sa Pilipinas. Okay? Gusto nyo, bago ko puntahan to, tingnan muna natin yung sitwasyon dito sa Pilipinas. O sige ha, gusto nyo ha. Dito sa atin sa bansa, meron tayong teenage pregnancy na malapit nang i-declare na national emergency. Or mukhang na-declare na yata na national emergency. Bakit? Dahil ang POPCOM o Commission on Population Development wants to declare teenage pregnancy as a national emergency in the Philippines, where an average of 530 teens give birth every day. 530 na teenager ay nanganganak araw-araw. That was last year na report. At dahil dyan, itong nakaraang linggo lang, gusto lang maglagay ng birth control lesson sa curriculum ng mga estudyante. Okay. Pinag-uusapan ngayon sa Senado kung dapat bang isali sa curriculum ng mga estudyante nasa adolescent stage o yung mga nasa edad 10 to 21 ang birth control o ang paggamit ng contraceptives para maiwasan ng teenage pregnancies. Nasa Senado na daw, pinag-uusapan na. Ano masasabi nyo rito? Ako masasabi ko dyan maku-curious yung bata. Para saan to? Okay. Birth control. Mas lalo nila testingin yan Mas lalong magkakaroon sila ng interest. Totoo ba itong sinasabi ni ma'am? Testingin nga natin. O bubuntisin kita ha. Tapos inumin natin to. Tingnan natin kung di matutuloy. Tingnan natin kung hindi effective. Bahay-bahayan tayo. Okay. Hindi naman yan imposible. Talagang paglalaroan nila yan. Okay? Gaano kahalaga ang papel ng isang tatay sa bahay? Sobrang halaga. O, idagdag ko pa. ABS-CBN News nag-report ng July 11, 2019 sa kanilang website na 200,000 daw ang nabubuntis na teenager ngayon sa atin. 200,000 na. That's the reason why an emergency, a national emergency has to be declared about this thing, okay? Teenage pregnancy. Every 24 hours, 24 babies ang pinanganganak mula sa teenage mother. So, hindi ito galing lang sa mga mahihirap, ha? I cannot assume na itong bilang na to ay galing lang sa mahihirap. I can also assume na kasama dito mga mayayaman, no? Kung sobrang busy magulang kagagawa ng pera, talagang parehong wala sa bahay yan. Tapos, may iwanan yung mga bata. Sino pupuntahan ng mga bata? Barkada. Wala mga bagay na naku-curious sila, gagawin nila. Tetestingin nila. No? Hindi ko na sasabihin yung experience ko dyan. Basta that's the natural instinct of a child na hindi nagagabayan, hindi nabibigyan ng tamang guide ng magulang. Okay? So, ito na. Basahin ko na. Teenage pregnancy pa lang pinakita ko sa inyo, ha? Marami yan. Yung napapanood nyo sa TV araw-araw, pa isa-isa, subukan nyo ipunin yun. Subukan nyo ipunin yung mga masasamang gawain ngayon na lagi na lang binabalita. Okay? Tinotal ko na po lahat yan. Hindi na normal. Okay? Okay, so ito, basahin na natin. Ano ang resulta pag wala ang tatay sa bahay? Pag wala ang tatay sa pamilya? Ano ang nangyari? Ito, the consequences of fatherlessness. Some fathering advocates would say that almost every social ill faced by America's children is related to fatherlessness. Papalitan ko to kaya. Some fathering advocates would say that almost every social ill faced by Philippines children is related to fatherlessness. 6 are noted here, sabi dito. As supported by the data below, children from fatherless homes are more likely to be poor, become involved in drugs and alcohol abuse, drop out of school, and suffer from health and emotional problems. Oh, naiiba ba sa sinasapit ng mga bata dito sa atin ngayon? Naiiba? Pareho lang, di ba? Kakalit ka naman, Papa Angelo. Kasi, kakainis na Boys are more likely to become involved in crime, and girls are more likely to become pregnant as teens. Okay? Tagalogin ko. Mga boys daw are more likely ano mas Tagalog yung more likely na nai-involve sa crime. Ang mga girls naman daw are more likely to become pregnant as teens, na nabubuntis bilang teenager. Okay, ano yung anim na reason? Okay, number 1, poverty. Children in father-absent homes, yung data, ito yung mga data ang sinasabi nila. Pinakamarami daw na dahilan kung bakit sila na involved sa crime o bakit naging mami agad, teenager pa lang, dahil daw, number 1, sa data na nakakalap nila, poverty. Children in father-absent homes are almost 4 times more likely to be poor. Imagine this, almost 4 times more likely to be poor. 4 na beses. In 2011, 12% of children in married couple families were living in poverty, compared to 44% of children in mother-only families. Okay? 12% lang daw yung mga batang nabubuhay na mahirap sa mga nagsasamang mother and father na mahirap, compared daw sa 44% na mga batang mother only yung nangangalaga. Imagine, from 12% difference to 44%. Okay? Ang source nila from US Census Bureau. Okay? Sa atin, trabaho ng DSWD yan. Baka may data sila, pati PSA, baka may data sila tungkol dyan. Ilan yung porsyento na mga batang naliligaw ng landas kapag single mom lang ang nag-aalaga. Children living in female-headed families with no spouse present had a poverty rate of 47.6%, over 4 times the rate in married couple families. Okay, ulitin ko. Children living in female-headed families with no spouse present or with no husband present had a poverty rate of 47.6%, over 4 times the rate in married couple families. Okay? 4 na beses, 4 na doble kapag daw ang mga bata na nabubuhay sa nanay lang ang head ay mas mahirap yung kanilang buhay. Okay? Sunod, drug and alcohol abuse. The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services states fatherless children are at a dramatically greater risk of drug and alcohol abuse. So, ito ay galing sa U.S. Department of Health and Human Services states. Fatherless children are at a dramatically greater risk of drug and alcohol abuse. According to U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, there is significantly more drug use among children who do not live with their mother and father. Okay? Galing naman sa kay John Hoffman, The Community Context of Family Structure and Adolescent Drug Use. Okay? Number 3, a study of 1,977 children aged 3 and older living with a residential father or father figure found that children living with married biological parents had significantly fewer externalizing and internalizing behavioral problems than children living with at least non-biological parent. Okay? Mas konti daw yung bilang ng mga batang nakakapag-externalize at internalize ng behavioral problems kesa sa mga batang nabubuhay na may nag-iisa lang na magulang. Okay? Children of single-parent homes are more than twice as likely to commit suicide. So that's according to their data. Next natin ay pang-apat, educational achievement. Children in grades 7 to 12 who have lived with at least one biological parent, youth that experience divorce, separation, or non-union birth reported lower grade point averages than those who have always lived with both biological parents. Okay? Yung mga children daw na grade 7 to 12 na pinangangalagaan ng isa sa kanilang magulang, kabataan, lalo na ng mga naka-experience ng divorce, ng separation, or non-union birth, reported lower grade point averages than those who have always lived with both biological parents. Mas mababa daw yung kanilang mga grades sa school compared doon sa mga kumpleto ang magulang sa bahay. Okay? Children living with their married biological father tested at a significantly higher level than those living with a non-biological father. Okay? Children living kasama ang kasal nilang tatay ay na-test na mas significantly higher level ang kanilang pag-iisip than those living with a non-biological father. Okay? So according to the study also. So if we talk about educational achievement, no, sa kanila. Father involvement in schools is associated with a higher likelihood of a student getting mostly A. No, lalo na pagkasama doon yung tatay sa school. Mas mataas yung likelihood na ang bata nakakakuha ng mas mataas na grade sa school. Mostly A daw. This was true for fathers in biological parent families, for stepfathers, and for fathers heading single-parent families. Kung tatay lang yung nandoon na parang kung meron single mom, siya single dad, no? Okay? So, ganun kahalaga ang guidance ng tatay sa bata pagdating sa educational achievement. Okay? Now, 71%, doon pa rin about sa educational achievement 71% of high school dropouts are fatherless. Fatherless children have more trouble academically, scoring poorly on tests of reading, mathematics, and thinking skills. Children from father-absent homes are more likely to be truant from school, more likely to be excluded from school, more likely to leave school at age 16, and less likely to attain academic and professional qualifications in adulthood. Okay, 71% daw na mga na-drop out sa high school ay fatherless. Lagi silang may trouble sa pag-aaral. Disturbed sila. Okay? Scoring poorly sa mga test, no? Napakababa ng score nila. Kahit na reading test lang, mathematics, thinking skills, no? Kaya sila yung talagang victims. Okay? Now, if we talk about crime daw, pang-5, adolescents living in intact families are less likely to engage in delinquency than their peers living in non-intact families. No? Yung mga adolescents daw na nabubuhay na intact ang family are less likely to engage in delinquency. Delinquency, of course, yung mga crimes na to, than their peers living in non-intact families. Compared to peers in intact families, no, pag kinumpara daw sa mga kumpletong pamilya, adolescents in single-parent families and step-families were more likely to engage in delinquency. No, dami kasi sa kanila yung mga step-step, ano? Ginagaya na rin natin halos. Stepfather, stepmother, step brother. Dinadamihan niyo masyado yung steps. Ano ba yan? This relationship appeared to be operating through differences in family processes. That's the problem. Parental involvement, supervision, monitoring, and parent-child closeness between intact and non-intact families. So, sila yung mas nakakagawa ng crime. A study using data from the National Longitudinal Study of Adolescent Health explored the relationship between family structure and risk of violent acts in neighborhoods. The results revealed that if the number of fathers is low in a neighborhood, then there is an increase in acts of teen violence. Okay? The statistical data show that a 1% increase in the proportion of single-parent families in a neighborhood is associated with a 3% increase in an adolescent's level of violence. In other words, adolescents who live in neighborhoods with lower proportions of single-parent families and who report higher levels of family integration commit less violence. So, naintindihan nyo na yun, ha? Again, mas konti daw yung nagiging involved sa violence ng mga kabataan kapag mas marami yung tatay na nandun sa bahay. O, ganun din yun. Okay? Sinasabi ko kanina pa. Children age 10 to 17 living with two biological or adoptive parents were significantly less likely to experience sexual assault. Okay? Mas mababa ang bilang ng mga nabibiktima ng sexual assault. Why? Alam nila ang gagawin nila eh. Okay? Ano pa? Child maltreatment. Hindi daw sila namamaltrato. Okay? Hindi sila nagiging victim ng child maltreatment. Why? They know what to do. The other types of major violence, ganun din. Hindi rin daw sila nabibiktima. And non-victimization type of adversity and were less likely to witness violence in their families. No? Hindi sila nakakita ng mga violence sa loob ng bahay. Compared to peers living in single-parent families and step-families. No? Compared sa mga kaibigan daw nila na nakatira sa single-parent lang, yung pamilya, or step-family, doon sila mas exposed sa mga violence sa loob ng bahay. Okay? Sexual activity and teen pregnancy naman pag-uusapan, pang-anim na. Sexual activity and teen pregnancy. A study using a sample of 1,409 rural southern adolescents, open and close parentheses, 851 females, and 558 males, aged 11 to 18 years, investigated the correlation between father absence and self-reported sexual activity. The results revealed that adolescents in father absence homes were more likely to report being sexually active compared to adolescents living with their fathers. Okay, itong mga kabataan na to, sexual activity, no, yung mga lalaki. Sino daw ang mas nai-involve sa mga sexual activity? Yung mga adolescents na wala rin ng tatay sa bahay were more likely to report being sexually active. Ba, active ka, ha? Active sila. O, ganun din naman. Pare-pare lang naman ng mga nature ng lalaki dito sa Pilipinas. Okay? Kaya kung anak mo lalaki, talagang mararamdaman din yan. No? Adolescent period. Ano pa? Being raised by a single mother raises the risk of teen pregnancy. Marrying with less than a high school degree and forming a marriage where both partners have less than a high school degree. Maghahanap ng ano yan ng companion, no? Kapag single mother yung nagpapalaki daw sa bata, magiging curious yan sa mga companion, sa mga maghahanap ng kausap. Okay? At ang ending daw, ang nakikilala niya, ganun din, mga malungkot din na bata na hindi nakakatapos din ng high school. O silang dalawa yung nagsasama. O anong mangyayari dyan later on? Okay, divorce din. Okay. And so, what else? Yan ang consequences ng fatherlessness. At meron ding report sa atin dito, Manila Bulletin, o sa atin na to ha, pinablis ng June 20, 2020. Okay? Nasinulat ni Father Rolando de la Rosa. Okay? Manila Bulletin, June 20, 2020. Ang title, Fatherlessness, a worst pandemic. The great Russian writer Leo Tolstoy once wrote, "All unhappy families resemble one another, but each unhappy family is unhappy in its own way." That might have been true during his generation, but not today. In our time, many unhappy families resemble one another for this one common characteristic: fatherlessness. If it were classified as a disease, fatherlessness would be a pandemic worse than COVID-19. Sadder still, there is no vaccine for it. In the United States alone, more than 20 million children live in homes without their biological fathers. 20 million daw sa US. Walang biological fathers. Mas matindi pa raw na pandemic ito kesa sa COVID-19. In the Philippines, the constant migration of workers to foreign lands also renders many children fatherless. Recent studies and surveys show that, on average, children with no fathers are more likely to experience emotional, health, educational, spiritual, and psychological problems. They are also more likely to be victims of child abuse or to engage in criminal behavior. Children need to see that their fathers are there for them. It's not just their visibility that matters. More important is their presence. A father once asked a friend, "How shall I be more present to my family?" His friend replied, "Get up early." It was a puzzling reply, but the father realized that sleeping late and waking up even later would deprive him of enough quality time for his family. How can he be present to his loved ones when he is forever rushing from one activity to another? Many fathers justify their hurried life by saying, "I have very little time for all the things I have to do." This is a big lie. Okay? Kapag maliit lang daw ang oras mo sa lahat ng mga gusto mong gawin, this is a big lie. All fathers have 24 hours a day, but they spend most of these on work and give their family the leftover. Kung ilang oras lang yung matira, yun ang bibigay sa family. Puro sikap eh. Paano? Nagparami ng anak. Nakalino rin ang diferensya. Sa rin galing ang problema. O di sa'yo rin. Pinarami mong anak mo, tapos hindi mo kaya buhayin. Okay. When a father's self-image is founded on his busy work routine, any unexpected disruption, like an accident, sudden retrenchment, financial bankruptcy, marriage breakdown, or terminal illness, devastates him. Yan ang nagiging epekto. Okay? Kapag yung father's self-image daw ay founded sa kanyang napaka-busy work routine, any unexpected disruption, kapag na-disrupt yung kanyang work routine, kagaya ng aksidente, sudden retrenchment sa trabaho, financial bankruptcy, o naubos ng savings, tapos dumagdag pa yung marriage breakdown, or nagkasakit, talagang it devastates the father. A father once confided to me, I used to devote much time to my work. I go to bed very late and wake up very early, feeling tired and weak. Every time I glance at the clock, I panic. Like many fathers who belong to the rapid fire, fast food, speed mail, and internet generation, I have to do everything quickly. I always have my cell phone with me. I am more present to it than to my wife and children, no? I bought the cell phone to facilitate communication and to gather information, but it has become a shield to protect me from the burden of listening and responding to my wife and children. So, naaagaw na ng cellphone masyado yung atensyon na dapat ibigay sa asawa at mga anak. The COVID-19 pandemic forced him to stay at home and rethink his priorities. No? He realized that living always in a hurry is dangerous, not only to his health, but also to his love for his family. Forced to stay at home, one night he had the chance to take his 5-year-old child to bed. What he experienced seemed to have been cut out from a page in William Ball's book, The Word In and Out of Season. It was the first time I had to put my son to bed. Kwento ng kaibigan niya. After finally getting the little fellow into his night clothes, I lifted him into bed hoping that he would quickly fall asleep. No? Hintay niya makatulog kagad. Suddenly, he looked at me and said, Daddy, I have to say my prayers first. My son knelt beside his bed, closed his eyes, and said his usual prayers. Then he paused and raised his eyes to heaven and prayed, Dear God, make me a great, big, good man like my daddy. Amen. I stayed on, watching him as he dozed off. Before I left the room, I prayed with tears in my eyes. Dear Lord, make me a great, big, good father like my boy thinks I am. Okay? Kakatouch yung kwento. Babasa na lang ako ng iba. Okay, here's another one. Tingnan natin yung isang kwento ng isang lalaki na si David French, no? Ito ay sinulat niya sa Time magazine at nakapublish sa time.com kung gaano kahalaga yung pagiging tatay at ano ang na-experience niya sa kanyang sariling ama. Okay, by David French, June 13, 2019. When I was 7 years old, my father resigned from his job as a college professor. It was a critical moment in his career and created real financial risk for his young family. But he felt that he was being asked to violate his principles, and nothing was more important to him than a strong moral code. That bold decision was a model of my father's approach to raising his kids. Walk your talk, live your values, provide for and protect your family. He told me to be kind to women, sure, but I watched him love and honor my mother. He exhorted me to work hard, but the lesson stuck because I saw him grind night after night as he went back to school to get another degree and took on side jobs to help pay the bills. Oh, ganun kasipag yung tatay niya. I think back on his example often as I try to be the best father I can to my own children. Raising kids has never been an easy job for anyone. Of course, but the challenge of helping boys find their way to a purposeful adult life is particularly fraught these days. With good reason, many of the most harmful attributes associated with traditional masculinity are being re-examined. But as we reckon with the damage of this frightened expectations or freighted expectations, we can't lose sight of the essential role fathers play in shaping sons into men of character. Many of the stereotypical traits that our culture associates with boyhood, things like achievement, adventure, and risk, are not inherently harmful cultural constructs that should be engineered out. They are, rather, innate characteristics that must be shaped, molded, and channeled to virtuous ends. It's here that a father has an outsized influence, and that influence can radiate beyond the immediate family. Without the father at home, boys are at a disproportionate risk of not attending college, according to a 2015 study in the journal Family Relations. And in America's deeply unequal society, the presence of a father can make a profound difference. In 2018, the New York Times reported on troubling research showing that even when black and white boys grew up next to each other with parents who earn similar incomes, black boys fare worse than white boys in 99% of America. Among the common elements in the 1% with similar outcomes, lower levels of race discrimination and poverty, and higher numbers of dads. Indeed, the report found that the mere presence of fathers in a community could positively impact fatherless boys. What accounts for this value? It gets back to the elevation of actions above words. It's the model boys follow, not the speech. Infantry soldiers will read field manuals, but they want to hear from combat veterans. Football players will study the playbook, but they'll run through a wall for a coach who proved it on the field. It's about being a living example, not just a mouthpiece. Okay? Kaya sa mga tatay, kung meron tayong mga sinasabi na dapat gawin ng anak, dapat sa'yo nagsisimula yon. Okay? Sa'yo dapat nila nakikita. Mahirap itulong pag hindi mo ginagawa. Okay? As a father, I constantly ask myself the question, what can I do to show my son the way? That's one reason I joined the military later in life and deployed to Iraq. I did not want to pressure any of my children to follow my literal lead and enlist, but rather to demonstrate to them as best as I could what it looked like to be more committed to your country and to your family than to yourself. Our actions as fathers represent the markers that men lay down, the decisions they point to that say, I don't always have wisdom. I may be at a loss for words, but let me show you what it's like to be a man. Sabi niya ganon. Okay? It's hard to imagine life without my father's influence. That there are children by the millions who can't comprehend life with a good father. It's not just painful to contemplate. It also represents an individual and cultural cataclysm. The message to men should be clear and unmistakable. Fatherhood is a non-delegatable duty, and your son needs you every bit as much as you needed your own dad. As a boy blazes his trail through life, his father should be leading the way. Okay? This appears in the June 24, 2019 issue of Time Magazine. Okay? Sabi niya dito sa last part, yung pinaka-nagustuhan ko, no? The message to men should be clear and unmistakable. Fatherhood is a non-delegatable duty. Hindi mo siya pwedeng ilipat o hindi mo pwedeng i-delegate sa iba yung pagganap sa tungkulin mo bilang ama. Ikaw gumawa nun eh. Bakit mo papabayaan palakihin ng iba? Baka pagtripan pa yung anak mo eh. Kasi hindi niya dugo yun eh, di ba? Okay? Now, kung total guide ang tatanungin natin, ano ba ang total guide na binigay ng Diyos? Okay? How to be a good father. Okay. Wala naman tayong mapagkukunan talaga ng reference, kundi ang Biblia. Wala tayong ibang titingnan, kundi ang manufacturer's manual, ang gumawa sa atin bilang tao. Ano ang sabi sa manual bilang guide kung paano magiging effective na tatay? Binigyan niya yung formula. Proverbs 24:3. Okay? Proverbs 24:3. By wisdom a house is built, and through understanding it is established. Through knowledge its rooms are filled with rare and beautiful treasures. Formula. How to have a good family na may matibay na fundasyon. If you have all those knowledge, tapos inintindi mo, you will have a house with rooms which filled with rare and beautiful treasures. Di ba? Ang sarap tumira at manirahan, o ang sarap manirahan sa bahay na ganyan. Okay? Kaya lang hindi natin to ginagawa, yung pagkuha ng knowledge na yan at understanding para magkaroon tayo ng wisdom. Ano yung knowledge ba na yan? Yung role mo bilang tatay, how to be a good father. Napakarami ng information ngayon, tulad hindi kagaya dati. Kailangan pa bumili ng libro. O, puno-puno ng information ng internet. Type mo lang sa Google. Ako, napakaraming lalabas niyan. Yan ang kagandahan ng internet sa buhay natin. Hindi ka na pwede magdahilan eh. Wala pa akong pambiling libro. Kahit yung cigarette vendor, may cellphone eh. Kahit yung mga nasa kalye, yung mga nakatira, tingnan mo, may cellphone yan. Gugulat ka, para sila nagkaroon yan. Ang problema lang nila, data. Eh, yung mga politiko dyan, no? Bigyan nyo ng data yung mga nasa kalye na yan. Kung hindi natin mahakot para turuan paano maging good provider sa pamilya nila, eh, bigyan nyo ng data, ha? Free wifi. Kung saan sila nakatira. Okay? So, pag meron ka ng wisdom, o pag meron ka ng wisdom, remember, galing muna sa knowledge yan, ha? Hindi basta wisdom agad yan, ha? True knowledge muna or information. May information ko muna. Paano ka pala ng magiging mabuting ama? Intindihin mo. Paano ba to? Paano ko sasabihin sa anak ko to? Paano ko to i-guide? Kailangan ba dito, English o Tagalog? Kailangan ba malakas na boses o mahina? Okay? Yun, kailangan ba isipan mo, unawain mo, parang diskarte. Then, mabubuo yung wisdom. Okay? At kapag nabuo na yung wisdom, magiging wise man ka. Doon nagiging wise ang isang tao. Ano yung wise? Nakikita mo na agad yung bagyong parating. Nakakapaghanda ka na. Itatali mo na ng gusto yung bahay nyo. Parang hindi lumipad. Ganon yun. Okay? Kaya nga, sabi ni Jesus sa Matthew chapter 7 verse 24, kung sino man tao, kung sino mang lalaki ang sumusunod sa mga sinasabi ko at ginagawa niya ito, itutulad ko siya sa isang wise man. No? Wise man na itinayo ang bahay niya sa ibabaw ng bato. Okay? Doon magkakaroon ka ng wisdom. No? Magiging wais ka sa Tagalog. Bago pa dumating yung lindol, nakapag-ready ka na, nakapaghanda ka na. Yun ang naibibigay na wisdom kapag meron kang inalam na information. Meron kang nilagay na knowledge how to do your job to be a better father. Okay? Now, alam nyo bang kung paano masasagot lahat ang inyong mga bayaran sa bahay? Minsan pinoproblema ko rin to. Pero binigay na rin ng Diyos yung sikreto kung paano. Okay? Kasi tandaan nyo, nung ginawa si Adan, nag-usap ng matagal yan ang Diyos at si Adan. Sinabi niya lahat ng foundation. Sinabi niya lahat yung mga dapat gawin ni Adan. At wala pang babae, wala siyang kamalay-malay dito sa pinag-uusapan nila. Walang pinangako ang Diyos sa kanya na, next week or next month, may darating dyan sa'yo, babae, abangan mo. Walang ganon. Okay? So, naibilin lahat ng Diyos kay Adan yung kailangan niyang gawin para maging matagumpay siya sa kaniyang purpose sa mundo, maging effective siya. Busy siya sa mga pinapagawa ng Diyos. Wala siyang iniisip na asawa. Okay? Work lang siya ng work. Work, 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 work lang, work. Wala siyang ibang binabantayan, wala siyang inaantay na darating. Okay? Tandaan niyo yan. Kahit basahin niyo pa ulit Genesis. Nauna yung work bago pa dumating yung babae. Eh, ano tinuro sa atin? Mga nakagisnan nating turo. Ang work daw, sumpa. Nako, kita nyo na? That's the reason why bumaba si Jesus. Repent. Baguhin yung inyong pag-iisip. Change the way you think. Yun ang totoong meaning nun. Hindi para umiyak ka dyan sa altar at magsisi ka, oh, God is merciful. O tapos, wala ka nang ibang gagawin. Hintay ka na lang uli ng grasya. May awa ang Diyos, ha? May awa ang Diyos. Sige lang, ilabas mo yan. Umiyak ka dyan. Bago ka lumabas, huwag mo kalimutan yung basket, ha? Lagyan mo. Okay? Change the way you think. Yun ang pinanawagan ni Jesus nung bumaba siya. Kasi malala na rin ang sitwasyon noon. Kung ano ang mga tinuturo ng mga religious leaders. Malayo na sa original plan niya. Tandaan nyo, hindi bumaba si Jesus para magtayo ng religion. That's the reason why we have to change the way we think. Ano po yun? Pag nabasa mo sa Biblia, ikaw mismo magbasa, i-research mo. Pag nabasa mo, God is Spirit. God is everywhere. Ikaw ba magsisimba pa? Eh pwede naman pala siya makausap, magdasal sa loob ng bahay, family, magdasal kayo. Magbasa kayo ng Biblia. Pupunta ba kayo ng simbahan? I'm not referring to just one church, ha? Lahat ng church. Pupunta ka ba ng simbahan pagka nakita mong gano'n? God is Spirit everywhere, kaya pwede ka magdasal. O, bakit po ka pupunta sa simbahan? Di ba? Itulong mo na lang sa iba, yung binibigay mo sa simbahan. May nakita kang pamilyang talagang gutom, deserving, edi itulong mo. Di ba? Yun ang sinasabing change the way you think. Kailangan natin baguhin talaga perspective natin. Huwag tayong basta naniniwala, sinabi ni ganito, sinabi ng ganyan. Pag-isipan din natin, totoo ba yun? Research mo. Basahin mo. At ipagdasal mo. Yung panahon kasi ni Jesus, ang titigas ng puso ng mga tao doon, ng mga religious leaders, hindi sila ready tanggapin kung ano man yung tama. Kaya lahat ng sabihin ni Jesus doon, kinukontra nila. Yung mga Pharisees, Sadducees, okay. Hindi ready yung dibdib nila na tanggapin ang mga bagong o yung tunay na kahulugan ng utos ng Diyos. Hindi ready. Dami tayong ganyan. Dami kong kilalang ganyan. Nakakala niya sobrang, sa edad niya na yun, alam niya na lahat. Eh, di ko na pakikinggan yung sinasabi mo. Kung ano yung alam ko, yun ang alam ko ngayon, di ba? Yun ang masakit sa atin. Yun ang mabigat daw na kalaban ng tao ay yung kanyang mind. So, kung humble ka, kaya mo tanggapin yung naririnig mong bago, totoo ba yung sinasabi itong Papa Angelo na to? Pag-aaralan mo, di ba? Basta binibigyan ko kayo ng idea. Tamang turo. Kasi ito rin yung nare-realize ko eh. Logical. Okay? Now, paano ka makapag-provide sa pamilya? Just work hard. Work, work, work. Kung may pinapasukan kang trabaho, hindi mo pag-aari yun. Binabayaran ka lang para magsilbi sa kumpanya mo. 8 to 5, 9 to 6, sa kanila yun eh. Pag uwi mo sa bahay, para sa sarili mo naman yung isipin mo. Okay? Mag-work, work, work ka uli. Nakalagay ba yan sa Biblia, Papa Angelo? Utos ba ng Diyos yan? Yes! O, puntahan niyo yung Ecclesiastes chapter 11 verse 6. Ecclesiastes chapter 11 verse 6. Sow your seed in the morning, and at evening, let your hands not be idle, for you do not know which will succeed, whether this or that, or whether both will do equally well. Okay? Halimbawa, eto, i-explain ko lang ha. Hindi ako bibigyan ng ibang meaning dito ha. I-explain ko lang. Hindi ako kagaya ng mga ibang kung sino-sino dyan, binibigyan ako ano-ano. Matalinghaga na nga. Ibibigyan ko lang isa pang talinghaga. So you sit in the morning. Kung ikaw ay farmer, halimbawa, marami kang hawak na seed. Ikalat mo. Okay? At sa gabi, let your hands not be idle. Dahil hindi mo raw alam kung alin doon sa mga buto na yon ang magsasucceed. Yung tinanim mo. kung ito ba o ito ba o ito ba. Huwag ka lang basta magtiwala na lahat yon ay tutubo. Okay? So ano ibig sabihin nito? Meron kang trabaho, para sa kanila yon. Yung may-ari ng company ang yumayaman, hindi ikaw. Kung para sa sarili mo naman, para sa pamilya mo, gawin mo in the evening, pag uwi mo sa bahay. And this is the reason why hindi tayo kailangan magsayang ng oras eh. Huwag tayo manood ng mga walang kwentang video na papatawarin ka lang. Pagkatapos mong tumawa, bayad na yung kuryente mo. Nandun pa din yung utang mo, nandun pa rin yung mga bills mo. Okay? Dahil for you do not know which will succeed, whether this or that, or whether both will do equally well. No? Magtrabaho sa gabi. Let your hands not be idle, sabi ng Diyos, para makita mo kung ano yung magsasucceed sa'yo. Kung pagdating ng hapon, after work, pupunta ka sa isang machine shop or automotive shop, tutulong ka. Tingnan mo kung magkaka-interest ka. Pag nagka-interest ka, o baka nagiging effective kang worker doon, o baka may chance na magkaroon ka ng magandang automotive shop balang araw na magiging negosyo mo, na ikaw na yung boss. Okay? Or bakery. Pagkatapos mo mag-opisina, punta ka sa isang bakery, may kaibigan ka, o mag-offer ka ng tulong. O gusto kong tumulong dyan. Paano ba gumawa ng tinapay? Pag natutunan mo at mukhang nag-i-enjoy ka naman, at napapaganda mo, at masarap yung gawa mo, meron kang pag-asa, meron kang future. Yun ang sinasabi ng Diyos doon. Hindi basta aasa ka na lang sa kung ano-anong dyan. Anong tawag doon? Mga networking? Ay, nako. Okay? Kailangan natin ng skills, mag-develop. Okay? Yan. Yun lang ang naiiwan ko sa inyo, Ecclesiastes 11:16. So, sana maging ano yun? Maging gabay ninyo sa buhay ang mga napag-usapan natin. Marami pa tayong pwede pag-usapan dyan sa pagiging father. Pero wala tayo sa oras. Kung aabangan nyo pa rin ako palagi, pagtutulungan natin maintindihan lahat yan. So once again, this is Papa Angelo, your God and Man's Lost Life Counselor. Magkita tayo ulit next Sunday. Sana sipagin pa akong gawin to. And mabuhay kayong lahat. Yun lang po ang aking panalangin dahil ang bawat pamilyang buo, bawat pamilyang kumpleto, may tatay at nanay sa loob ng bahay, ito ang papatibay sa ating bansa at magpapaganda ng ating society sa mga susunod na 10 hanggang 20 years. Thank you so much! Bye-bye!